Hello. Hi. This is Siris Raquel Rivas-Verdejo, and we're going to continue our series on the limiting patterns that you've chosen from the Choosing It All Your Way program. So today's pattern is cutting off your receiving. Thank you to everybody who voted, and if you haven't voted, I'm going to put the link to the survey later on here underneath this video, so make sure to be on the lookout for that. But there's so much that we can talk about with this limiting pattern, but I'm going to keep it to about 3 points, okay? 3 takeaway questions that you can look at so that you can see if this is one of those limiting patterns that are running in your world. First and foremost, a lot of people think that receiving is all about receiving money, and it includes that, but it's way more than that. It's really about being willing to receive awareness and information and anything that will create more by you being aware of it. And just because you're aware of something, just because you're receiving information about something, doesn't mean that you have to do anything about it. Doesn't mean that you have to lock it in your body or buy it or agree with whatever you're picking up on. It's just information. And I think that one of the things that a lot of people struggle with right now with this is that like they're almost overloaded with information, that they would tell me, well, I don't want any more information, I got plenty. Here's the thing, when you say that, you're already cutting off some of the things that might give you some more breathing room, some more ease, some more clarity on what to do with all this information that you're getting, or for you to be more picky and choosy on, okay, which information I'm getting, what sources am I getting it from, and also how to more easily move it out of your body or out of your world, your mindset, whatever way that it might be impacting you. So my invitation with this video, and for us to look at when we're talking about cutting off your receiving, if any of the questions that I'm going to go over are something that you get a no about, and you're going to know what I mean in a second. If you get a no about them, that's the ones that you need to look at a little bit deeper, that you need to explore further. There are way more than 3 that we can talk about, but I wanted to give you some very clear ideas on what you can ask yourself to see if this is something that is functioning in your world or in the world of one of your loved ones. So, some key ideas. So there's 3 things that I find the most common for people to not be willing to receive. There's way more than this, but these are the ones that really, if you're not willing to receive these 3 things, it really impacts you in almost every area of your life. Okay? The first one I'm going to talk about is, and ask yourself this, are you willing to be judged? Are you willing to receive judgment? If you're not willing to receive both positive and negative judgment, you are not probably putting yourself in a box. You're probably staying in your comfort zone. You're probably doing what everyone expects of you instead of maybe what's going to work in your life, be it now or in the future. You might be living out other people's expectations. You may be avoiding the judgment, and so then you're keeping yourself in doing or in the relationships that you're staying in the jobs that you're staying in. You might be playing small if you're not willing to be judged. Those that are willing to be judged, it's not, again, like we mentioned earlier, it doesn't mean that you have to buy the judgment, you have to believe in it, you have to sign off on it, you have to do anything about it. It's like, oh, okay, that was a judgment. All right, cool. Okay, moving on. Here's the thing. I dynamically blocked that. I was trying to be the perfect daughter and the perfect clinician and the perfect friend and the perfect granddaughter and all these things, and it was exhausting. It was so exhausting to try to tiptoe around all these possible judgments that people were going to have, probably no matter what. I get judged no matter if I am being quote-unquote perfect or not. Even when I'm doing my best, people will find a way to judge you. So if you're not willing to receive it with ease and just not let it be significant in your world, it can have implications for every area of your life, because judgments can come in any area of your life, okay? So if you have a hard time receiving judgment and it really impacts you, it's really significant for you, go ahead and put a letter A in the chat, or put judgment in the chat, whichever one you like to acknowledge for yourself. The second thing that I find that people are really not willing to receive are compliments. I know, there's judgment and there's compliments. A lot of people are not willing to receive either one. Maybe that's you. So if someone says, oh my gosh, what a lovely shirt, or oh, I love that idea that you brought up in this meeting, or oh my goodness, when you brought up this recommendation for this book or this movie, that really was such a great recommendation, and I watched that and it really helped me have this wonderful memory and experience with my kids or with my partner. Whatever type of compliment it is, are you willing to receive that? If you're not, if you got, as soon as you said it, you're like, maybe sometimes, maybe, well, go ahead and put a B or compliments in the chat. Now, how does this impact you? Well, if you're not willing to receive compliments, and that tells me a lot of things, including that you're probably being very judgmental of yourself. You're probably being very hard on yourself, putting a lot of pressure on yourself. So that makes me worry about and think about your self-care. You are your greatest influencer. If you are being mean to yourself and unkind, if you are judging yourselves or always picking on the things where you feel you're lacking, remember we talked about in video 1 about lying to yourself. If you're saying this and reinforcing this narrative, it's going to make you smaller and smaller and smaller, less likely for you to do the things and take the action that you need to create the life that you really would like to have. So receiving compliments is not a small thing. It doesn't mean you're egotistical. It doesn't mean that you're arrogant. It doesn't mean that you think your stuff doesn't stink or anything like that. It just means you are willing to acknowledge what you are, who you are, what you bring to the table, like how you are influencing and impacting the people around you and the environment around you. And that's a great place to know. That's a great thing to know about yourself, and it's a great place to be, because with that you can use that information to use those skills, use that information to create something different or to create something more. But if you're not willing to acknowledge where you shine, where you're awesome, it's a lot harder to do that. And then number 3, yes, what you probably thought this was really going to be about, and it's, are you willing to receive money? But I'm going to add a caveat to that. Are you willing to receive money from anything and anyone? If somebody called you right now on the phone and they said, hey, I have $500 to give to you, you just won this raffle, you just won this award, are you going to hang up on them, or are you going to ask more questions? This has happened to me. I've gotten calls where I've won money, where somebody said, oh, there's an error or a glitch, and you were able to get this money sent to you to your account. I ask questions, of course, but I'm willing to receive money from anywhere, from anyone. I just happened this past weekend. I was out to brunch with family, and the computer was having a weird thing, and they scanned our receipt, and they said, oh, it's been paid. And I was like, and we looked around at all of our family members. No one had sneaked in to try to pay. And so we're like, okay. And they're like, yeah, so I guess you got a free meal. I could have argued. I could have been like, no, let me at least give you some cash or something like that. Nope, they were like, it's all good. Now we were like, okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Great way to just, let's receive that. Okay, thank you for that compliment. Oh, thank you for that compliment. Oh, thank you for judging me. I even say thank you for judging me with people. It's like, now I know where you stand. Now I know what you think of me. And I will use that information accordingly. That kind of a thing. And to notice how freeing that could be. To not spend all this time and energy avoiding judgment or not receiving compliments or not being willing to have money show up from wherever to contribute to you, to make your life easier, to nurture your body, because our bodies are the ones that really need the money for the roof and the food and, paying the bills and all that stuff. So I wonder for you, if money has been relevant and you haven't been willing to receive money from everyone or anything, and you don't have to control the sources, go ahead and if you have a hard time with that, go ahead and put a C in the chat or put money in the chat. If you have a hard time receiving from anyone, anything, if there's still somewhere where you're like, it can only be from these type of people or from these places or from these countries or whatever that is, in this language. There's a lot of different things I've heard over the years of ways that people will limit and cut up their way of receiving. So what do we do? Let's say one of these are relevant to you. Well, first, I'd like you to check yourself and ask, okay, I recognize this is a pattern that's running. Where did this come from? Where did I learn this? Who did I learn it from? All right? And then on top of that, I'd like you to look at, okay, so what impact has this made in my life? Are you okay with not being willing to receive compliments? If you're okay with it, that's fine. That's on you. If you're not okay with it, or if you're recognizing that it's actually impacting your self-esteem, your ability to be confident in communicating and connecting and creating with other people, then maybe that's something for you to take some next steps with, okay? So these are the questions you can ask, these 3 areas to see where you're receiving, where you might be cutting off your receiving, and then to look a little bit deeper and see where these things have come from so you can start to unravel these patterns out of your world. And then if you'd like to get support on how to do that with exercises, with a personalized plan, go ahead and schedule a consultation with me and check out the Choosing It All Your Way program. It's at empoweringlightlanguage.com/choosing it all your way. And I'll put those links underneath here. And don't forget to vote for our next limiting pattern video. We have 2 more videos that we're going to do. So make sure to vote if you haven't already done so. Share the survey with your friends. Share this video with your friends, anyone who would benefit from hearing this information so that they can explore where they might be cutting off their receiving so that that awareness and information can open up new possibilities for them. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful afternoon, evening, or morning, wherever you are. Bye-bye.